Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson filling in for Tom, who is on location working on a documentary on climate change. Still with us in studio, Ben Wikler from MoveOn.org, and the man you will see at the podium, microphone, and all of these things. I mean, Friday it was Trump Care. Yesterday it was the threat to our democracy, and we talk a lot about action and taking action. And something I learned, because right in the beginning of the resistance, I was like, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Yep. And then someone was like, it's not a marathon, it's a relay. And I'm like, yes, that's so brilliant. That's how we're going to do it. And so, like, speak to the actual role that activists, that the grassroots play, because they are doing everything. And I feel like you and I, in our roles, actually empower, but the actual power is with the people in the grassroots.
Yeah, right now it feels like a sprintathon, to be honest.
It's a sprintathon relay.
It's a sprintathon relay. So the key thing to know is that at this moment, the most powerful force on our side by far is the grassroots. Elected Democrats have very little institutional power, but they are basically tapping their power from the grassroots uprising and the resistance. And the grassroots uprising is shaping their strategy. So where people show up winds up being where elected Democrats put their focus. And that's why, all of us grassrootsy types have significant power at this moment. MoveOn.org has our sort of theory of what our staff's job is to provide MoveOn members, which are probably a lot of folks watching right now, anyone on our email list, with opportunities to have a meaningful voice in fighting for a more progressive America. So we think of ourselves as like member servants. We look for moments when a public outcry can make a difference and create a platform for people to stand on and fight. So this week, that's meant demonstrating that this Comey thing is not some inside the Beltway, minor issue. This is something that the public is angry about, freaked out about, wants action on. That's why we had a huge protest outside the White House yesterday. That's why we had protests outside of Senate offices last night. We'll keep working on that. With Trump Care, even more so, it's, we created resistancerecess.com, this website where people can go and use data from Town Hall Project, a bunch of other things, tracking appearances by members of Congress, and then show up at town halls and tell their personal stories about how this will affect them. And then we make sure that the media knows that people will be there. And that has helped reshape the debate about healthcare. I mean, it's not an accident that this is the most unpopular bill that anyone can remember. It's because people are speaking up, they're telling their stories, and they're fighting back. These things don't happen in a vacuum. And so, right now, more than any time I can remember, actually not just calling Congress, but also going out, speaking publicly, making a handmade sign with a Sharpie and, holding the thing up in front of a television camera, no matter where you are in the country, that's the most powerful thing we can do right now, because it is totally reshaping the public debate about what's happening in American politics.
So the new thing that I've seen that I love is Mark Pocan did the town hall in Paul Ryan's district.
Yes.
Right? I love that.
Yes.
And I feel like that strategy or that tactic should be replicated, and maybe it doesn't have to be an elected official who does that. It could be a candidate running for
Andy
office.
Slavitt, who used to run the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, is going around doing healthcare town halls in Republican districts right now. And if you are a constituent of a Republican who is cowering and hiding from his constituents, probably his most Republican members of Congress overwhelmingly are men. If you're a constituent of a Republican who won't do a town hall, just invite someone to come do a town hall. Like, find your local, your nearest local Democrat and invite them to come into your district. Democratic members of Congress won't show up unless they're invited. There's actually protocol around this, that they don't do that. But you can invite them, and they will come, they will speak. You can pack that place, hundreds of people, and that will make news. I guarantee that'll make news and create real pressure on your local Republican to pay attention to what's going on.
I love that tactic. It's such a great way of raising our voices and showing and demonstrating that all power resides with the people. It's not here, it's with us. And we wanna talk to you. So let's go to Joe in Washington State. Joe, you're on the line.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Ben.
Hey.
Do you think that there is a connection between the James Comey firing and the attempt to pass Obamacare repeal in the Senate? Because if people on the left are trying to resist Trump over Russia, it seems like Republicans could be given some breathing room to take away health care despite widespread opposition.
It's a really great question, Joe. You want to?
Yeah, so I think this works out really well for McConnell and for Republicans on healthcare for that reason. I don't think this is Trump's plan. Trump seems to be doing this because he got terrified that the FBI was getting closer on Russia stuff. and the Senate Republicans and Democrats only found out about it like an hour before the actual firing took place. So I don't think there was like a concerted effort between Senate Republicans and Donald Trump on this, but it does work out for Mitch McConnell. Because here's the thing. Right now, there are these 13 Republicans who are planning what the Republican Senate bill will look like on healthcare. Those 13 Republicans are doing that outside of regular channels. This isn't through a committee. This isn't through floor debate. There's nothing Democrats can do to slow down their negotiations. So all the stuff Democrats are doing appropriately to just mess things up in the Senate and stop stuff from moving forward until we get a special prosecutor, that doesn't affect Republicans' ability to continue focusing on figuring out a terrible healthcare bill that could actually pass through the Senate. And that is why, even as we fight on the Comey stuff, there needs to be just a flood of grassroots pressure on Senate Republicans right now. So this week, most of the kind of resistance movement energy has focused on accountability for House Republicans. There's something called the Payback Project, Indivisible, and Move On. Some other groups are doing paybackproject.org, organizing die-ins outside of House Republican, like local offices. That's crucial. But pretty soon, we need to start moving and pressuring these Republican senators, and not just to not support the House bill, not to get them to oppose the pre-existing condition stuff, but to oppose any healthcare bill that would take away coverage from millions of people. We cannot move the goalposts to the absolute horror show that is the House bill, because you strip away some of the bad stuff from the House bill, you've still got a total, to use Sarah Huckabee Sanders' phrase, a total atrocity, right? You got a bill that condemns tens of thousands of people to death per year, even without the pre-existing condition stuff. So I think you're right that there's a danger for the resistance movement that we will get totally sidetracked by the Russia stuff. I think we can't not fight that, but we've also got to fight on healthcare. And Senate Republicans need to understand that there will be just an absolute whirlwind. There will be hell to pay if they do what the House Republicans did, jam through a bill and torch the American healthcare system.
So I agree with everything you said, with one sort of caveat. We have to fight on all fronts. And, in my day job at Social Security Works, me and John Bowser Bauman have been since December going around trying to find 3 Republicans. It's the same strategy, 3 Republicans to vote no on any reconciliation bill that cuts Medicare or Medicaid. And the truth is, they don't have anything that's not going to do that, right?
Because it would mean giving up on their grand dream. You can't do a massive tax cut for the rich without taking money out of Medicare and or Medicaid.
Exactly, or destroying Medicaid, which is what the meat and potatoes of Trump care is. There's lots there, but $880 billion out of Medicaid, it just destroys Medicaid.
Yeah, it's basically you take the inhaler out of the mouth of the child, you sell it, and then you give the money to a millionaire. That's the Republican healthcare plan.
That's the best explanation of their plan that I've heard yet. I will be using that multiple times. Here's the caveat. So we have to do everything at once, but I actually think that they can play in our favor as long as we do everything at once, because if the rage and outrage of the resistance over the Comey stuff is going to, you're going to need some unity amongst the Republicans, right? It's going to be a tough vote, as they say in this town, right? It's a tough vote. And so McConnell's going to be using every stick and every carrot that he has to try to get the votes that he needs. We have to be hammering them to make sure they don't have those votes. And the Russia stuff, we just have to be hammering all around, because at some point, this process is going to drag on. It's a long process. I mean, you fought on the Obamacare, right? I mean, I keep bringing that up.
That took 16 months, right?
They spiked the football after barely the end of the first quarter, and we're like, we did it. And you're like, that's not even close to having done anything. There is going to be a point when, the 3 Republicans that we need, they're going to be like, why should I take a tough vote? Why should I take a tough vote that's going to accrue to this guy in the White House who is actually dragging me down with him? And in fact, I'm going to get more of a political benefit out of standing up and separating myself from that. And I think the key is the strategy is where I'm in full agreement. We have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We have to fight on all fronts. But if we do it well, I actually think there could be some amplification involved.
Yes, I think that's totally right. So I accept warmly, I embrace your caveat. And the core of this is anything that unites us and divides them strengthens us. And both Russia and healthcare have the potential to do that. Like Trump, everyone thought Trump was actually going to go for stuff that would unite Republicans and divide Democrats. And he's totally failed to do that, which is like, thank goodness he is at least as incompetent as he is evil. But like on this stuff, if you show up for a town hall meeting, if you're there for Russia or healthcare, you can talk about both. You can applaud people asking tough questions about both. So it is good to have two major issues that both crack their unity, that make them look over their political shoulders, as long as we don't stop talking about, one or the other of them. Like, we need to keep up the pressure on both. But I do think, part of what's interesting here is these are both things that are indefensible. Like, there is not actually a legitimate argument for their awful healthcare bill. And there's definitely no legitimate argument for firing James Comey to shut down the Russia investigation. So these are both things where we have like very strong moral high ground, and where, if they dodge a question about one, then they get hit with the question about the other and they're just left spinning. Like, this is stuff where we can have them on the run. So as long as we don't get shut down and overwhelmed and, depressed because so much is happening, as long as this fires us up to join the fight, I think it can help. And I think we can potentially win on both of these things.
And I do as well, as long as the resistance stays unified. And what I always say, to be able to do all these things, it's through solidarity that we will find that unity that will create a movement. And so, the most radical act, I use two superlatives, and I forgive myself for it. The most radical act you can take is self-care, and the most radical act you can take is to get organized. And oftentimes those are one and the same, because to understand that you're not alone, that you don't have to do this by yourself, that you are standing shoulder to shoulder with your friends and neighbors and millions of Americans.
Absolutely.
That power is good for the people, because they win when they have us cowering, when they have us in despair, and we fight back through unity and solidarity. So I'm just vociferously agreeing with you.
No, I absolutely agree. And you need to. My wife and I have been like delaying date nights for the last couple of weeks. My wife works in healthcare policy also. This has been a very trying time, but like, you need to stake that out. You need to stake out the time to like be human and recover, and not just be, exploding on Twitter all the time. Like, you've got to be a human being in order to fight these fights.
So just Joe, thank you so much for your call. We only got a couple minutes left in this segment, and I want to actually talk with you about this thing, just get your opinion on it. So this is the Twitter presidency, right? Yeah. This is the first. Twitter played a role in him winning, and Twitter is obviously playing a role in everything that he does. And we've seen this already in the case of the Muslim ban, that it's like lawyers used to be able to be like, well, you don't know what he was thinking when he did that action, and he says that he was thinking this. Like, their whole strategy on Comey is to pretend that it's about Hillary's emails.
Doesn't work, because he's been tweeting exactly what he's thinking about.
It's amazing, right?
It is amazing.
And I've faced some smart conservative friends of mine who've been like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, hold on 1 second. And I go to Twitter, and you're like, see, he said it right here, here, and here.
It's an amazing thing. And I know some folks that conducted focus groups of people who voted for Obama and then Trump, and asked them what broke through. They hate his tweets. This is just a huge Achilles heel for this guy. It will prove his undoing. It is his making and his unmaking. Twitter is, frankly, it's our friend. It is a hammer that he keeps wielding, but he's going to hit himself in the face with it.
I think he maybe already has, and he's so dense he hasn't noticed it yet that, they just 86'd all of his public statements and stuff off of the website.
Oh, really?
And yet his speeches, and I don't know why, but that just happened yesterday. And it's like, does somebody not know how the internet works? Because this stuff's around forever. And malice that was in the Muslim ban. In this one, motive is the key, right? Why did he fire Comey? And there's ethical and legal. It's a group of reasonable people, and you present them with what he said at the exact times, and then you're like, okay, well, clearly he fired him because he's angry about the Russia investigation.
It's right there in black and white. Here's the thing. At the end of his campaign, they took away his phone, and he didn't do any personal tweeting for the last few weeks. You remember that? That was part of how he won. That was the equivalent of the Comey letter. That was the campaign's masterstroke, was to stop him from tweeting. So if he stops tweeting, then get scared. Right now, it is a gift.
So last couple seconds here. Tell people how to get involved with all the efforts that are going on right now.
Yeah, go to moveon.org right now and sign up. And when you do sign up, put in your phone number and agree to get a text message. Because a lot of these rallies and protests, instant things that are happening, you'll find out a lot faster via text than you will via email. And make sure you stay plugged in.
MoveOn.org.